I recently got married, and thank you. Wait till you hear this. And I didn't exactly want to live with my mom anymore. So my wife and I got an apartment. It's an old apartment that we renovated. And a couple of weeks after we moved in, I decided to call all of my friends over for dinner. And I gave them a very simple address to follow. What's going on? And it flows like this. Go down Nazat al-House Street till you get past Al Fakani supermarket. Then go up the hill from there till you get to a vegetable shop. At the vegetable shop, turn right, and then turn right again till you see a very big sign for an NGO. Now, my house is not in the building with the NGO, it's in the building opposite that. It's a big gray building. And my house is on the 5th floor, apartment to the right. Now that's pretty simple, isn't it? But no one was able to find their way. I ended up spending the evening running around the entire neighborhood trying to pick everybody up. I don't even order food to the house anymore, because every time I order it, the food arrives cold. And I travel a lot. And every time I need to call a taxi to come pick me up to take me to the airport, I end up running around the entire neighborhood with all my luggage trying to look for that taxi. I mean, think about all that time you've lost on the phone trying to give out your address to someone. And think about all that time you've wasted on the road looking for an address. I even know people that when they have a very important meeting in a location that they haven't been to, they actually go there the night before just to make sure that they can find it. That's double carbon footprint, time wasted, and frustration. Now, some of you here, of course, are probably thinking that the way we give our addresses in the city are very charming, and that it's part of our cultural identity. And maybe it is, but it's inefficient. Imagine trying to put this address on your business card. So this is the kind of address I should be able to give you. But if I give you this address right now, would any of you be able to find my house? Probably not. Because this address is only going to work in a city that has taken the time and resources and invested in an informational system that clearly demarcates its buildings, streets, districts, and houses. And of course, you're all probably thinking, eventually, Beirut is going to have such a system. Come on, guys, let's face it. It's not on our government's agenda. Our government doesn't even provide us with 24-hour electricity. So what do? You go generate your own. Our government doesn't even provide us with water all year round. So what do? You go fetch your own. We've even created our own ad hoc public transport system that we call the service. So is it really a wonder why each one of us here today has created his own unique address system? I might be smiling now, but deep down I'm really frustrated about this. So I called up my friends, who are also my colleagues at work, and I told them, guys, what can we do with the experience that we have? Could we find a way just to make our addresses just a tiny bit more efficient? So we've developed 3 simple criteria that, if followed, will help lead you to a simpler, more efficient address. The first one of these criteria has to do with the use of landmarks. Now, every address needs a couple of landmarks just to get you into that right location. What we found from our research is that using 2 to 3 within your address is sufficient, given that these landmarks are as permanent as possible. So there are those absolutely permanent landmarks, things like the airport or the Shar al-Hilo bus station. And then there are those most likely not going to change landmarks, things like a hotel or a gas station. And then there are those landmarks that probably will change, things like a restaurant. You need to be careful with these because you don't want to end up with vegetable shop today, butcher shop tomorrow. And then there are those landmarks that you really need to avoid, those volatile landmarks, things like the blue curtains on the building or the orange van that's parked on the side of the road. And please don't use those landmarks that don't exist anymore, because I really don't know where Cinema Rivoli is. I'm sure the older generation does, but... The second criteria has to do with the use of street types. Now, we all need to sit and commonly agree on what is up, down, right, left, and center. Because right now, each one of us here has a different understanding towards the Sharia, what is a mafra, and what is a zarubi. Because a zarubi to you might mean a road with a dead end, but a zarubi to you might just mean a very small and narrow street. I'm sure a lot of you here have been through the Y junction scenario, where you get to a Y junction, and you call up that person who gave you the address, and you're like, should I go left or should I go right? The person on the phone says, keep going straight. Now, for the person on the phone, what they mean by go straight is go straight into the road with the most traffic. But try to figure that out on a Sunday morning, where both roads are equally as empty. And then there's the uphill-downhill issue. So I have a friend who lives next to the Bristol Hotel, and he's sitting right here, and the street over there is commonly known as Nazlet Bristol. And he often ends up having to say, طلع من نزلة لبرستول. Finally, the orientation. The third main criteria is the orientation. It's very important to orient that person you're giving the address to in a way that they don't get lost. Why are addresses always being given out in the form of a question? Do you know where Sissin Square is? Pause, wait for answer. Have you been to HSBC Hamra? Pause, wait for answer. Which side of the road are you on? Pause, wait for answer. Why can't addresses be given out as plain and simple sentences? And how about the flow of information within that address? Is the information being given out from near to far or from far to near? And how about those directions within the address? Are they given out to us in the flow of the traffic or in the flow of a pedestrian? So now, taking these three criteria that we've developed, we've tried to see how I could fix my own address. And so I have my three landmarks, which are Verdun, Sodico, and Fakani Supermarket. We realized that I do not need any street types within my address because there's nothing ambiguous about the area that I live in. And I finally start off with the orientation to give a very clear sense of direction. So my new address now flows like this. Take Independence Street from Verdun to Sodico, straight past Fakani Supermarket, take the second right, turn first right, third building to the right, fifth floor to the right. Now this is probably something I can fit on my business card. So please do come visit us outside in the social spaces, where we can take your long and inefficient addresses, and you can walk away with a shorter, more efficient address and a pack of guidelines. And we hope that we can perhaps save you a couple of minutes next time you're on the phone, and perhaps even a couple of turns around the block. Thank you very much.